Hello, beautiful people. I wanted to take some time today to talk about a subject that, I think is very important to talk about, but I also usually hesitate to talk about it in daily conversation because there's a lot of stigma and a lot of judgment that generally come along with it. But you know what? It's important to talk about, so let's dive in and chat. I have been on prescription narcotics, which are like Vicodin, Percocet, things like that, since I was 20. When I tell people that, there is generally a look of concern and shock and horror, and it's generally met with questions about being an addict, or do I abuse it, or things like that. And if it comes from like a good friend who's concerned about me, please ask. If it comes from random strangers, it seems a little out of place, but I understand the concern because there is such a problem with drug use and abuse, specifically in America, and I believe the rest of the world, and especially when it comes to opioids and prescription drugs. With that being said, I just wanted to share with you kind of my experience of being on narcotics for the past 7 years of my life. I want to start off by saying that there is a difference between addiction and dependence. I have been dependent on drugs, on opioids. That's when your body will go into withdrawal, when your body is actually dependent on a substance, and it will have a bad reaction if you take that substance away. Addiction is different. Addiction is when you are physically and mentally dependent on it, when you need more and more of it, when it becomes a real issue, when it becomes destructive. Addiction is why people end up in rehab. Addiction is usually what happens when people abuse medications, when they take it for the wrong reasons, the wrong times, the wrong dosages, too much of it, so on and so forth. So I had a really bad horseback riding accident, as most of you know, when I was 13. I fell off a horse, I shattered my ankle, but I also really hurt my neck. And I found out later years that I also have a brain condition called a Chiari malformation, which essentially means that I tell people my brain is too big for my skull, which is actually physically accurate. My brain is too big and my skull is too small. And so the back of my neck is in a lot of pain, combined with the injuries from that horseback riding accident often. I also get really bad migraines. That is in part from the Chiari malformation. That's also just from genetic luck. I get chronic migraines, which means I generally get them more than half of the month. I get them